All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And people will be trickling in. I just want to say welcome. Welcome to all of you who felt called to be here with me this morning. I'm really excited and delighted to share with you what feels to me like some very powerful and relevant wisdom, guiding wisdom for our times. And I want to just give a little bit of an overview of what we'll be up to this morning. In a moment, I'm going to start with a prayer, with an invocation to really make it be known and clear what we are dedicating this time and this focus and this heartfelt energy towards. And then I'm going to just build a little context around how we access the power of our core needs, what they are, why we would want to access them, the value of accessing this place, and what it's all about, essentially. I'm going to really open that up and then give you all a chance to have a more guided, experiential, direct experience of the place that I point to in terms of accessing this in the body. So I'll be taking you on a little guided journey, and then I'll have some time for us to open up your questions and just see what else is here. So essentially, that's the flow. And seeing we've got a few more folks here. So I'm going to go ahead and begin, like I said, with a guided invocation. So I invite you to just presence this with me, really just tune in with me. So go ahead and just close your eyes and let any kind of distractions from your environment, just put your phones away, anything that might take you away from just being present in this moment. And go ahead and just settle into your seat. If you can find a way to allow your sits bones to be supported, your back body supported. Ideally, if you're sitting on a chair, just feeling your feet on the ground, noticing those little points of your sits bones in the chair. And if you like, you can just squeeze your perineum a little bit, squeeze the root, just to anchor yourself down and in. And if you like, you can rest a hand down near your belly or your hara. And go ahead and just start to bring your breath into your belly, into your womb space, into your hara. Just taking some nice, deep, full breath. And on your exhale, just letting go of any excess energy. And breathing yourself in, just this really wide, warm, welcoming embrace with your breath. And again, exhaling out any excess tension or energy in your body. See if you can let your shoulders start to melt down. Let your eyes melt in. Let your eyes just soften inwards. As you continue to deepen this felt sense of your breath in your belly. Beginning to notice the sensation of your feet, your legs, the energy moving down into your connection with Gaia. So just invite you to open the palms of your feet. There's actually chakras in the palms of the feet, and just begin to sense those energy centers as if they could begin to breathe more consciously with this relationship with Gaia. So just like letting yourself start to plug in And then allowing your hands, the palms of your hands, to open. So just resting the palms of your hands on your lap. And continuing to let this deep, full breath expand into your lower body, really inviting your attention into the sensations that are arising with that breath contact. And as you exhale, this sense of melting, softening, dropping your weight, letting go of any excess energy or tension, and just giving into gravity. You might want to let a subtle sigh or a sound of an ah just roll out on that exhale. Continuing to let the palms of your feet, the backs of your legs, the connection of your sits bones, all, it's a sense of plugging into this energetic circuitry of our natural connection to the magnetic field of the earth. So we're just beginning to presence what's already here. And just begin to notice that your spine now has a natural way of beginning to grow out of this sense of support. So just continuing to breathe and just feeling your spine beginning to find its alignment from the sits bones, just feeling yourself lining up. The sense of the spine, each vertebrae just stacking on top of the next, and letting the heart space start to open, the chest open, the throat open. And continuing to breathe, and just in your own way, inviting this channel, this flow through of your core space, your central channel, to begin to become more present. Just feeling that energy from the palms of your feet flowing up your legs, through the perineum, through the hara, up through the belly, lining up the spine, opening the heart, opening the throat, and breathing that energy all the way up through the brain stem, back of the skull, in through the brain, out through the crown. Inviting your awareness to begin to sense into the space above your head. And just noticing the room that you're present in right now, noticing your sensory connection to the sounds in the room, perhaps out beyond the room into the field of nature around you. Just noticing how your body animal is aware of where you are and this larger holding field that you are connected to, that you are breathing with. So if it feels comfortable for you as you continue to settle into your channel, into the ground, just also let your system feel that there's all this space to begin to expand into, and allow your system to become receptive to the sharing that we're going to begin to explore here together. So you can feel your awareness expanding out beyond your skin, while you're simultaneously feeling this flow of breath connecting you to your core. And from this place, I want to just speak out loud this devotional presencing. We are invoking the presence of our connection to our beloved Mother, Father, God, Creator Source, that is alive and awake inside of every single cell and molecule of this holy flesh of existence. That our bodies, our minds, and our lives have their being within. And as we come together this morning, we say, thank you. Thank you for this precious gift of life. Thank you for this opportunity to grow, to evolve, to discover more fully what it is to be the divine in a human body, to participate in this grand and mysterious adventure called life. And we say thank you for all the ways that we're supported, that we can actually be here together and come together in this way of communion and deep listening, and for the benefit of really living out our potentials, our unique potentials, for the opportunity to express them and to gift the world with our unique expression, our unique gift that is the presence of our being. So I'm very aware right now that there are many people on the planet who are really suffering and displaced and going through intense struggles and challenges with the fires that are happening right now where I am seated in Northern California, the recent hurricanes, earthquakes, just this profound time that we find ourselves alive in. And as I was contemplating coming together to focalize our core needs, it could seem like a luxury or something to have this conversation. And I want to really name that this is so vital and important that we presence this connection to our core amidst so much consciousness right now that is feeling scattered and fragmented and lost. So I want to dedicate our coming together and our cohering to really be a grounding kind of acupuncture needle of light right now on the planet that can emanate and ripple out and in some way be a blessing right now into our brothers and sisters' lives and all the sentient life right now, all the animals and plants and elementals that are in a deep journey right now. So may this medicine that we develop, we access through our presence together, may it be a healing balm to those ones that need it right now. So just as you feel your breath flowing through your channel and you feel your palms of your feet plugging into Mama Gaia, and you feel your spine growing as this kind of biocosmic antenna, just feel this blessing with me, this invocation with me, that we let our time together begin to ripple out. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so you can continue to just listen with your eyes closed, or if you want to tune in with me through this interesting video technology, as it's right for you. What I really want to presence with you all today in this conversation around accessing the power of our core needs is that this is an essential intimacy skill. What accessing our core needs is really about is that our core needs, the way I like to define this, is that our core needs are a biofeedback mechanism that is built into the design of what we call being human. That we are human animals that are inherently connected, embedded, one with this field of nature. Nature is this primordial, ancient intelligence, billions of years of evolution, that our bodies are, you could say, a planetary extension, a cosmic extension of this evolutionary process that is still going on. We are not complete by any means. And so I think of the gift of being born into a human life is that we have this capacity that's very unique amongst sentient life, and that we have this capacity to consciously participate in our own evolution, right? Animals, my cat, your dog, monkeys, bears, lions, all of the amazing creatures, all of the elementals, all of the trees right now, the oceans, the natural field, it's just consumed with being what it is. But as far as we know, it doesn't really have this capacity to self-reflect. And so it's just expressing its nature. And the interesting thing of being human is the way that we get to participate is by virtue of where we put our attention. And attention, what I have discovered in my journey over, I would say, really this whole lifetime, and many lifetimes most likely, it feels I've been very curious and devoted in this particular way. What I've been exploring and discovering in my own laboratory is that when we start to grow our connection to our core and cultivate conscious awareness there, this fundamental core space naturally connects us to the larger field of life. So it's not that I need to be, rigidly holding down my awareness at all times in my core. It's that once we start to land there, then there begins to be this spontaneous kind of symbiotic breathing, flow through dynamic with life, where there's this profound and natural sense of being guided from the inside in this relational field. And what our needs are, how they are, these unique players in this dynamic, is that our needs are constantly showing us and inviting us into this relationship with the moment, with where our bodies actually are. And the thing is that we've inherited, this interesting kind of top-down conceptual overlay, where our operating system, for the most part, I think as Western people, what we've learned is to be paying attention to, in a way, the dictates of the environment, which of course we need to have a certain amount of attention there. Where it's gone, I think, a little askew and out of balance is that from early on, I think as our survival circuitry, our need to survive being the primary need as animals, if you were born into an environment or grew up in an environment where you did not necessarily feel safe, like a lot of us, then your attention is always on the outside, in a way, being very vigilant about what's coming. That there's this sort of vigilant protection always there, looking for where you might need to defend or protect yourself. And so we start to leave this very intimate felt sense language that's communicating from the inside, and we start to grow an identity, in a way, grow a self state, a self sense, more in this kind of outer protective mechanisms. You could say it's like a survival style that we get caught in. And, this is very unique how this develops for each of us. But I think you get my point. It's that we have this sort of cultural overlay, which I feel is a mix of our ancestral conditioning and, the sort of evolution of our culture that we're born into and that we've inherited. And then, whatever your family early upbringing, imprinting, however that mirrors to you, your sense of self. But meanwhile, there's this design within us that's meant to be connected to this essential intimacy, what I call our primordial intimacy with the natural field, with life. That is what our bodies are most, primarily craving in a way. Our deepest need, you could say, is to feel this felt sense of connection, this felt sense of this breathing rapport. So if any of you were on this call I had a few days ago with Jody England, I was talking about how our first need is to be true. And what I want to kind of weave back in, what I want to deepen with in the sharing today, is that when I say, our first need is to be true, what I'm really talking about is our first need is to be true to this inner core space, to the intelligence that is constantly, freshly giving birth through each of us, through our channels, from the very core of our hearts, the core of our guts, the literal relationship we have with this upward rising energy from the magnetic field of the earth. And from this, you could say, this cosmic downward flowing energy from above. And that essentially the human being is this bridge. It is this beautiful biocosmic antenna. I love playing with that term. One of my teachers, Emily Conrad, used to refer to us in that way. And that we are designed to be this crossroads in a way, this sacred cross of where our alignment, we find our alignment by allowing our channel to be open and to let this expression of the mystery, the divine, God, creator, source, whatever you want to call it, flow through us, through our hands, through our speech, through our actions, through the way that we touch the world, through the way that we find our path. And so this first need to be true is really about listening to that, being attuned to that, being attentive to that. And the way that that information is communicating itself is through the very core of our beings. And our work, I believe, at this time, especially when there is so much of this critical, urgent energy that's constantly pulling us out into this kind of fight or flight crisis mode, where it's so easy to go into fear and lose our ground. I feel that more than ever, we need to be cultivating this stabilization of really abiding in this core space, actually walking as beings who are channeling in a way, our divine instructions, why we were born at this time. We each have a unique, you could say, frequency signature that is our destiny, our imprint to express in this lifetime. And that need to be true to that, I believe, is the primary driver. And what happens that I started to also talk about on the call the other day that, is difficult to really address in an hour. And that's why I created an 8-week course. We're going to really unpack what I refer to as our developmental needs. Because our developmental needs, the needs that we came in with, and that also we were designed to really become healthy, functional, aligned beings that can access our potential. Creator designed us with these particular developmental needs. And when they are met, we naturally evolve and grow and become healthy, aligned human beings who are capable of showing up in the way that I'm describing. And what happens is that the interesting kink in the design is that innocently, for many of us, these developmental needs are not met. And we are not taught what they are. And we are now, most of us in our adult lives, and we bump into, I would say, these two imperatives where we have this need to be true to our inner integrity, to our destiny, to our purpose, to really walk that walk. And then often as we do that, we bump into these unmet developmental needs. And the way that they tend to show up is in our relationships, in our intimate relationships with the ones we love the most. And it can be very confusing and very painful. And so my journey has certainly been research in this field. And what I'm finding is that when we begin to name these needs, when we get to know what they are, and we get to start to get to feel the felt sense language of them, we start to develop a much more conscious, in a way, operating system with this design that we were given. And it's not that we can necessarily, understand the design and then go about our lives in such a way where we can expect other people to meet these unmet needs, but we can discover a way to practice with ourselves where these unmet needs begin to become a pathway back home into our own essential innocence and beauty and preciousness and tenderness and vulnerability that connects us into the same frequency that is that energy of our need to be true. And so this is the circle. This is this kind of interesting, symbiotic, seemingly paradoxical relationship. And this is what I feel so excited to share, is that if you have been someone who has felt deprivation, scarcity, lack, pain, struggle around what I'm describing in terms of feeling unmet, feeling misunderstood, feeling somehow, this endless searching and seeking and craving for something, and maybe you don't even know what it is. And perhaps you've been someone who, that hunger has led to addictive behaviors. To me, those are all just biofeedback. They're all indicators of a need underneath that is trying to express itself, that is trying to become conscious. And what happens is we tend to get lost in the translation, and we get lost in the secondary conditions of the way we shame ourselves, we judge ourselves, or get lost in the dramas and the traumas and the crises that we get caught in with our loved ones, in the sort of snare of trying to meet each other's needs. And underneath all of those behaviors and all of those attempts to try to meet this hunger, this craving for this deeper contact with this drive in us, this essential need to be true to our core, to these divine instructions, ultimately we can allow our bodies knowing of our needs, whether it's, I talked about the other day on this call also, and I'll just name briefly again, our basic needs, our basic, you could say, survival needs for air, for water, for nutrition, for food, for shelter, for clothing. Those are all biofeedback mechanisms, right? If we don't listen, some of them are autonomic in terms of our breath, but we know that if the breath is compensated long enough, the body will die. We know that if we don't get water long enough, the body will die. If we don't get food for long enough, the body will die. If we're in conditions where we get too cold, certain environmental conditions, the body will die. So these are essential survival needs, and you can learn a lot from them, and that they're always showing you where you are and what the body needs to thrive, to be in homeostasis. And I consider these developmental needs, and the developmental needs actually evolve into what I call evolutionary needs, spiritual needs. they're all connected. They're all really one thing. They're all a language that, again, is this biofeedback, beautiful, harmonious biofeedback system of nature that's constantly showing us how to tend, how to attune to what's true. And so, what I want to name for you all that I think is really important is that because we have been so trained in this cultural system, this cultural kind of anatomy that takes us out of listening to this essential language. And what ends up happening is we override, we bypass, we end up, let's say, just as an example, in my own life, I can say there's been times where the pace that I've set up for myself in terms of my schedule and the sense that there's all these urgent needs from my life, from the world, from my work, from my clients, from my students, from the survival pace of just keeping up, right? I know we all have our own version, and especially if you have children, you have a family, we have multiple levels of commitment for most of us going on all the time. And so to keep up with that pace, I've learned a lot that what takes me out the most and has disconnected me from listening to this system is when that pace, that schedule gets to be more than I can actually handle. And, I end up panting and scrambling and running around, and losing my ground with my essential connection to this direct relationship and communication of my needs. So what I've learned is to do the best that I can to honor myself and honor the gift of my life and honor the people in my life and honor my commitments by creating a pacing, a schedule where I can actually stay connected to my body, to my breath, to my needs, and stay committed most essentially, most importantly, first and foremost, to staying with myself, to staying with my somatic, directly felt experience. Because I know that when that gets disrupted and I lose contact, then I'm actually really not being of service to anyone or anything, and there's consequences. So that has been a huge teacher for me, and it's also what has revealed to me a process and a practice to share with all of you and anyone interested. I created a practice that's actually called the Core Attunement Practice. And I'm actually going to show you in a few moments just a brief, just a taste of it to give you a directly felt sense of this. But it's a practice that you can integrate so that you, like any practice, you start to cultivate and stabilize a felt sense of this core terrain, of your directly felt somatic experience, of what it means to actually attune to you, what that feels like. And so then you can begin to put it through the test of your life. Of course, where the rubber hits the road is, where you're in a confrontation with your spouse or your children or somebody at work, a colleague, or traffic on the highway, or, just what we're all facing right now with the conditions of our world. There's so much that's confronting our very sense of our basic, birthright of existence as we have known it. And so we're all feeling this call, what can I do? How can I respond? How can I be of service? How can I show up and really take my place? I know that we're all feeling that call more than ever. It is knocking on the door of our hearts. I know this, I feel this to be true. And yet we need to respond to that call from a place of being grounded and actualized in the center of our being, connected to, you could say, the forces of our soul. That is where the guidance instructions need to come from. That's what's going to actually pattern interrupt the status quo right now. So I feel that, it might seem, I think in some perspectives, part of our conditioning might say, it's selfish or narcissistic or a luxury to be attending to yourself when there's so many fires to put out, literally and metaphorically. And yet, I think it's more like the analogy of, the oxygen mask on the airplane. If you don't get your own oxygen flowing, your own direct source and link, then you're of little service to anyone and anything else. All right, so I think my point is pretty clear. I'm going to go ahead and just lead us in about a 5-minute or so, just a brief little guided meditation where I want to give you a taste of this core attunement practice. And if I was going to give you a full version, we might spend about 20 minutes or a half an hour. But I want to just give you a brief taste here, and then I'll open it up for any questions that you might have. So again, if you would go ahead and just close your eyes and let yourself sink into your seat. And this time I want to invite you to, if you can, put both of your hands on your skin. Make some skin contact right around your hara, your womb space, your belly, your navel. There should be a nice fit, just a natural fit where your hands can come under your clothes and just start to make that skin contact. And go ahead and begin to just notice the contact of your hands. You might name the quality of the temperature, if your hands are warm or cool. But just letting your awareness start to come down out of this more cognitive listening and begin to feel the language of sensation just with this simple contact of your hands on your belly. And begin to breathe into your hands, just nice and deep and slow. Letting the belly expand with your in-breath. And softening the belly in towards your spine on your exhale. Breathing in, expanding, filling, deepening, generous breath. Deep into your belly, deep into your perineum, as much as you can fill that space, and then exhaling, emptying, emptying, letting go. Breathing in, feeling the belly expand and fill and fill and fill. And exhaling and letting the belly empty and empty and empty and empty and soften in towards your spine. And exhaling, letting the belly come in towards the spine, emptying, 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 emptying. And as you empty, squeeze the root a little bit, just a little squeeze in the perineum so you're emptying all the way. Really feeling yourself down into your root, into your genitals, into your perineum. And then breathing in, deep, deep, full, full breath, expanding into all those tissues. So in your own timing and in your own way, I want you to take 3 more deep breaths this way. Just deep, deep expansion into the lower belly, into the perineum, into the root. Filling, 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 filling. And in your own timing, exhaling and emptying, 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 letting the belly come in towards the spine. Letting all of your awareness be consumed in the sensations that are present here for you. Feeling the temperature of your hands. Feeling, feeling, feeling. Inviting yourself down and into those tissues. Inviting your curiosity, your genuine interest, kind of a devotional interest. Just being with the sensations of the breath coming in, the breath going out. Feeling your hands melting, merging, joining with the tissue of your belly space. Now, if I was in a room with you all present, I would be letting my senses and my eyes wander and tune in with all of you, and I would be sensing the feeling in the room if your essential presence was now beginning to join and become one with your tissues here in the belly. So I'm connecting in this cyberspace way, in this virtual room, and sensing into each of you, inviting you to feel my presence, sensing in with you, sensing into this collective field of all of us together here this morning. And I want you to just say to yourself internally, you can either say this out loud or just internally. I want you to talk into this space and say, I am here. I am here. I am here. And feeling yourself here in your hands, in your belly, in your breath, in this hara space, this gut brain intelligence. Letting it be known, letting it be named. I am here. And taking a deep breath into this feeling sense of your own presence here in your body right now. Letting yourself land in this feeling of completeness. And just noticing for yourself right now, what is the strongest sensation that you're aware of? So letting your attention get sort of global and expansive, expanding out beyond your body if you like, and just sensing what is the strongest sensation happening right now. And it could very well be this contact of your hands on your belly, or perhaps it's somewhere else in your body, but just allowing yourself to notice. and letting yourself feel the strongest sensation, letting yourself be with it. It's beyond conceptual mind, it's just feeling and breathing into this strong sensation. So give that strong sensation a big breath. And then I want you to notice the awareness that is aware of this strong sensation. So just back up a bit and notice the awareness that is aware. The awareness that is the holding ground, the holding field, the breathing field in which this strong sensation is taking place. And just for a couple breaths here, letting yourself just relax into the intimacy of where I'm pointing you to. See if you can relax and rest into the awareness that is aware while you allow the strong sensations in your body to just be here as they are. So we're not trying to change anything or fix anything or conflict on anything. Just resting, relaxing, being this embrace of awareness as you allow the felt sense of whatever is the strongest sensations arising in your body right now. And as you connect in with this intimacy and you acknowledge that I am here, just feeling the presence of that I am here in this meeting place of awareness, of bodily sensation, of breath. And it's from this place that we begin to attune to our core feelings and needs. So we could, for example, from this place of connection, we could ask, what is needed right now? So go ahead and ask yourself that, just as an experiment. What is needed right now? And resting into this listening place, this receptive place, this open space. And you may not hear answers in language that comes through words, but I want to invite you right now just to feel into the space that you're being taken to. When you ask, what is needed right now? So just anchoring in the feeling flavor. Hopefully you're feeling by now a felt sense of warmth, of aliveness, perhaps pulsations of energy, You might feel the pulse of your heartbeat, of your blood. You might begin to feel this vast field of intelligence that is this somatic, egoless wisdom of the body that so loves being referred to and asked. And we're not demanding answers, we're just listening, just resting and relaxing in so that our conscious awareness can join with this deeper intelligence that's embedded and connected to, to Gaia, to this larger field of nature. So as you're sensing into this place in your body, just notice from here your connection to the natural world right now. That you're listening, attuned to the sense of connection right now, to the ground under you, to the space around you. So just notice if this is feeling pleasurable, this is feeling like there's some flow of eros, feeling of love, feeling of warmth. Or perhaps you're noticing some of the grief from being dislocated or disconnected from your body. When we start to come into this intimacy, we start to notice what's actually here, just like any relationship. And if we had more time and if we were to go deeper with this, I would begin to, some of the next steps of the practice are to begin to, in a way, repair. So we might find ourselves saying, I'm sorry, body, that I've been abandoning you. I'm sorry I haven't been here. I'm sorry I didn't know how to be here. I'm sorry I didn't know how to listen. I'm sorry I've been dragging you around and pushing you around and wearing out my adrenals and my kidneys and making you work so hard. We start to feel this sentient intelligence, and we can heal these places just by empathing them and saying, I'm sorry, forgive me. I knew not what I was doing. It's just like that. It's just this innocence that we return to. Or perhaps you're overwhelmed with the feeling of, thank you, oh my God, this body is this miraculous, amazing, wow, thank you, belly, thank you, heartbeat, thank you, lungs, thank you, genitals, thank you, legs, thank you, eyes, thank you, ears. I've had sessions with myself where I've just been overwhelmed with the gratitude for the miracle of life that's taking place here. And so there's this need to celebrate that we can, that's part of our attunement, or we go into perhaps waves of overwhelming love where we just have to love everything up. So this is, in the longer coursework that I teach, this is some of the flavors that we begin to heal and repair and, create this rapport through loving and forgiving and empathing and acknowledging our real relationship here. So by virtue of the amount of time we have today, I just want to name that some of what can come up. So, if any of those flavors came up for you as you started to attune, just know that that's natural and normal. And I encourage you to just be gentle and be curious. And if that's something you want to explore with me in a more one-on-one way, we can do that. I have a free discovery session that I open to anyone who's interested in exploring that in more depth. But just to say, this is the beginning point that we start to establish as a new baseline, a new set point of intimacy. And from here, we can learn the skills to start to walk through our lives. And that's really where the rubber hits the road, right? Is how to stay connected to me, how to stay connected to my felt sense reality, my needs, my instincts, my inner guidance as I come into relationship with the world, with my primary close ones, with my children, my family, my lovers, my partners. You know, that's really where we tend to split off and abandon ourselves, is when we come into relationship with other. So much of what our cultural conditioning has taught us is that we have to self-betray in order to stay in connection with other. And so this is an incredibly important frontier, I feel, to practice, to put into practice, is how to stay with oneself while being in relationship with another and with the world, and everything that means. So in the coursework that I have created in this upcoming 8-week course called A Course in Thriving, essentially what we'll be doing is going through a very deep and intimate inventory with all of these very precious facets of our lives. You know, what's actually going on in relationship with, first, our own bodies. We will establish that first, and really grounding and be teaching you these essential intimacy skills, much more than I can today, to how to stay connected and how to ongoingly, moment to moment, practice keeping those lines of communication open in a way that feels really trustworthy. And then we begin to explore how that comes into rapport with our close ones, our home, our primary relationships, and then into our workplace and our purpose work and our gifts in the world, and then in our larger community and our culture and our how we are in relationship to our contribution or our larger service focus, and then ultimately, you know, our impact on the world and our connection with nature and with God. So we'll be going through a very precise and intimate inventory and coming up with a new game plan of how we want to establish these relationships and dynamics in a way that feels, again, circling back, in a way that feels really true, that's coming from your deepest integrity and inner alignment and congruence, really from the core of who you are. So that is, in a nutshell, what my invitation is. And I want to open it up here for the next 10-15 minutes for anyone who has questions, anything I didn't address for you. I want to give a little bit of space. So we have this Q&A space right here. You can either put it there or in the chat box, and I'm going to be connecting with both of those. So I'm going to take the next 10-15 minutes to do that. So please, if you have any questions that you want to open up here right now, I'm going to just, actually, for simplicity, I'm just going to open up the chat so we can all see. Hopefully you can see that now. So go ahead and just put in there if there's any questions you have, anything that came up. I'm pretty good and intuitive, but I can't completely read minds, especially in this format where I can't see you and I can't hear you. So does anybody have anything? While you do that, I'm going to look at my notes and see if there's anything that I wanted to share that I did not share. Not seeing anything. So, you know, one piece that I guess I'll just take another moment just to kind of riff on, because I feel it's an important aspect, is that what happens through this this core attunement practice, and I really just gave you a brief taste today. There's a lot of facets to it, but essentially, I believe that we are craving what comes with this being true to the core of our being. What really comes with that is that we nourish our own field through the, you could say, if you will, the nectar of our own presence. And I believe that what we are longing for, what we are craving, what we are seeking in our relational field and through, all of the dynamics in what you could say our relational life, is we're craving the real. We're craving what's really going to bring us in touch with this kind of eros, of this felt sense of the lusciousness of love, that's really who we are and what our birthright is and what this whole field of Gaia and God is designed to be and to express. And we all know this archetypally, it's in our design. And yet we get so splattered out in the mechanics and the routines and the sort of images of what life is proclaiming is going to be this nourishing nectar. And none of it has substance. None of it actually feeds this deep contact for the real. And so my, you could say my secret agenda in all of this creation of this work, what I've discovered is that I believe that if we begin to be presence this quality for ourselves and know how to access this quality for ourselves and nourish our own selves quite literally through this practice and walk through the world in this way, we become contagious. We become a kind of permission-giving contagion in life that's saying, this is how we're meant to be here. Come be with me in this way. Come join in this way. Let us be this, this love revolution, this embodiment revolution, this presence of being that is actually walking around nourished by the eros of our own presence of love. That is what this need to be connected to the truth of our being is about. And so if we can learn to let our actual bodily needs direct us and guide us, we begin to touch the world with this way of being rather than the mechanical, conceptual, top-down, overriding, bypassing, sort of trashing the somatic wisdom ways, this sort of hyper-masculine trashing that we've all come out of. And I really feel that is what's going to, if we have a chance at all, it's going to be from this bottom up, inside out way of being with ourselves and with each other. So I really wanted to just name my secret agenda. And I'm seeing one question here. Yes, this is being recorded, and I will certainly send out to all of you the recording and to any of you who weren't able to make it live. That was the question that was just asked. Absolutely. All right, so it's a little after the top of the hour, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up if there are no further questions. I really appreciate all of you who joined me this morning and just for giving me the opportunity to share, what's really deep in my heart core. And if you want to open this up with me in a more one-on-one way, I'll send out in the follow-up email a link to a discovery session, and you can fill out that form and set up a time with me, and I'm happy to explore with you in a more personal way what's actually unfolding in your life related to these issues and more, where the opportunities are, where the challenges are, how I can support you. And again, I do have a course coming up called A Course in Thriving. It's amazing timing that here we are amidst so much survival. I would say our world is in a course in surviving right now. And so here I am offering A Course in Thriving. How can we actually thrive in these times and stay connected again to this body felt sense, somatic wisdom, and be guided from this instruction system and navigating our contribution to the world and to our loved ones, and just to our own path. So there is a page on my site right now called A Course in Thriving, where you can read more information on that. And I'll also link that in my follow-up email. And that starts on October 24th. So it's very soon. If that's something you're interested in exploring with me, please, give me an email, fill out the discovery session, and let's open it up. It's very limited. I can only have 20 people, and it's filling up. So you're invited. And bless you all. Thank you so much for your attention. I look forward to any feedback you have, any follow-up, I welcome, and I hope to connect with you live. That would be my most preferred favorite version. And just want to say thank you to all of the invisible beings, the angels, the guides, the guardians, the ancestors that were present with us today. And again, may the medicine of our presence, the nectar of our presence, be food, be nourishment to all those ones right now in our larger family who are sincerely in need of this quality of connection. We shine that out, we ripple that out, we allow that to go to the places that it is most needed. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.